Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you tonight, you're just one mindset away from a brand new life. You see, it's not always the situation that has to change sometimes, it's our thinking. God didn't design you to live stuck, defeated, or overwhelmed. He put greatness in you. He gave you everything you need to rise higher, to overcome, and to live in victory. Now, I know life gets busy, pressure builds, and we start thinking small, thinking this is all there is. But I'm here to remind you, if you can shift your mindset, you can shift your destiny. What if I told you there's a way of thinking, a mindset that could change everything starting right now? Not tomorrow, not next year, but immediately. This isn't hype. It's not wishful thinking. This is truth rooted in faith, action, and the power of choice. When you align your thoughts with hope, with strength, with purpose, you unlock a life you didn't even know was waiting for you. So tonight, get ready. That breakthrough you've been praying for might just start with how you think. Your mindset is the thermostat of your life, not the thermometer. That means you're not meant to just react to life, to let circumstances tell you how to feel, what to expect, or how to behave. A thermometer reflects the temperature. It responds to what's happening around it. But a thermostat sets the temperature. It doesn't wait to see what the environment decides. It decides what the environment will be. And that's exactly how your mindset works. You don't have to go through life reacting to every problem, every disappointment, every delay. You don't have to let the mood in the room affect the mood in your spirit. You've been given the power to rise above the atmosphere, to set the tone, to decide what kind of day it's going to be, what kind of future you're going to walk into, what kind of faith you're going to carry. It all starts in your thinking. Most people go through life just surviving whatever comes. If people are negative, they become negative. If things are slow, they get discouraged. If money is tight, they think small. But that's living like a thermometer, just reflecting what's already going on. But when you step into the mindset of a thermostat, you begin to declare, I'm not here to reflect this situation. I am here to transform it. You begin to understand that circumstances don't define your joy, your peace, or your purpose. Your mindset does. That's the shift that changes everything. When you wake up in the morning, you don't wait to see how the day unfolds. You set your intentions. You decide it's going to be a day of favor. You decide to walk in peace. You decide to expect God's goodness. This is what separates people who live in breakthrough from those who stay stuck. It's not always about talent, connections, or timing. It's about mindset. Because when your mindset is aligned with victory, you start to rise above what's happening around you. You stop letting fear call the shots. You stop letting stress tell you how to act. You stop letting other people's opinions direct your path. You start to set a new standard in your life, and that thermostat begins to work. It might not happen instantly on the outside, but something starts shifting on the inside. You go into the same job, but you show up with a different energy. You face the same challenges, but now you have a peace that doesn't make sense. You deal with the same family drama, but you're not getting pulled into it anymore. Why? Because your mindset is leading the way. People may wonder why you're not reacting the way you used to. They'll say, aren't you stressed? You'll say, no, I've set my thermostat on peace. They'll ask, how can you stay so positive with everything going wrong? And you'll say, because I've set my thermostat on faith. This is the power you've been given to create an internal atmosphere that is stronger than the external one. And let me tell you, once you learn how to do this, nothing can steal your joy without your permission. Nothing can derail your progress unless you give it access. You might face the same problems as before, but now you're coming at them from a position of authority, not defeat. You're setting the tone, not receiving it. Even when life throws you a curveball, you still have a choice. You can say, this is tough, but I'm not lowering my temperature. I'm not backing down in fear. I'm not slipping into bitterness. That thermostat mindset says, I've made a decision no matter what's happening around me. I'm going to maintain my focus, my joy, my peace, my vision. That doesn't mean everything goes your way, but it does mean your reaction doesn't depend on everything going your way. And that's where the power is. That's where transformation begins. It's not waiting for life to get easier, it's deciding to get stronger. It's not waiting for people to agree, it's choosing to stand firm in who you are. It's not letting your environment mold you, it's letting your mindset mold your environment. We all know people who walk into a room and everything changes not because they're the loudest or the most talented, but because they carry a mindset that is rooted in strength, purpose, and clarity. They're thermostats. They set a standard and the atmosphere adjusts. You can be that person. It's not about personality, it's about internal discipline. It's about choosing not to let the chaos outside infect the calm inside. It's about knowing who you are and refusing to let life push you into becoming something else. This is how you walk in peace in a stressful world, how you keep dreaming in a disappointing season, how you keep showing up in excellence when no one's clapping yet. Because your thermostat isn't based on applause, approval, or attention. It's based on identity, on purpose, and on the mindset you choose every single day. What you focus on, you empower. Shift your attention, shift your outcomes. Every day your mind is processing thousands of thoughts, conversations, moments, and emotions. And in the middle of that noise, whatever you give your consistent attention to begins to grow. Focus isn't just about mental clarity, it's spiritual authority. It's how you magnify certain parts of your life, either pulling in peace or pulling in pressure. Most people don't even realize how powerful their attention is. They spend their days focused on what's wrong, who hurt them, what didn't work, or what could go wrong next. And they wonder why anxiety grows, why peace feels out of reach, why their motivation is drying up. It's not that they're broken, it's that their focus is broken. You see, the mind is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you point it toward gets bigger. Focus on problems, they grow. Focus on lack, it feels heavier. Focus on pain, and it takes over your emotions. But flip that around, focus on possibility, and suddenly you feel hope. Focus on progress, and you start to feel momentum. Focus on what God has already done in your life, and suddenly your heart is flooded with gratitude. The power was never in the problem, was always in the perspective. When you change the way you see it, you change the way you live it. That's why focus is one of the most important tools in your personal transformation. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about choosing where your energy goes. Think about a camera lens. You could be in the middle of a chaotic street, noise everywhere, people rushing by. But if you zoom in on one peaceful corner, that's the frame that gets captured. That's the image that tells the story. In the same way, life will always give you both chaos and calm, both obstacles and opportunities. What you focus on determines what becomes real to you. And this isn't just motivation, it's psychology, it's faith, it's spiritual law. What you meditate on, you attract. What you water grows. And what you starve eventually withers. So if you've been feeding your fears, it's time to starve them. If you've been feeding your doubt, your discouragement, your excuses, it's time to change the menu. You don't need to fix everything in your life all at once. You just need to fix your focus. You don't need to have the perfect plan, you just need to pay attention to where your attention is going. Is it going to what drains you or what fuels you? Is it tied up in what happened years ago or in what's possible now? Every time you choose to redirect your focus, just one thought, just one moment, you are rewriting your story in real time. That's why people can go through the same exact situation and come out with totally different outcomes. Two people can lose a job, one spirals into defeat, the other sees an opportunity for reinvention. Two people can face rejection, one decides they're unworthy, the other decides they're being redirected. It's not the event that defined them, it was the focus. You can't always control what shows up in your life, but you can control what you stare at. You can choose to stop replaying the betrayal, the failure, the missed opportunity. You can choose to stop giving your energy to worst case scenarios. And the moment you do, something shifts. Your emotions follow your focus. Your motivation follows your focus. Your faith follows your focus. The people who seem the most confident are not those who have no problems. They are those who have learned to lock their focus on what builds them, not what breaks them. That's how you take your power back. That's how you stop giving your joy away to things that don't deserve it. That's how you grow even in the middle of uncertainty. There is always something going right in your life, but you won't see it if you're only looking at what's going wrong. There is always something to celebrate, but you'll miss it if you're consumed with what's missing. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs don't come from new information, they come from new focus. From waking up and saying, today I'm going to focus on what I can control. I'm going to focus on growth, on gratitude, on the direction I want to move in. It's not denial, it's not pretending everything is okay. It's just choosing not to hand over your energy to everything that wants to keep you stuck. When you do that consistently, when you make it a habit to guard your focus, you stop empowering the fear, the distraction, the bitterness, and you start empowering the mindset that changes everything. Speak victory even when you feel defeat. Your words shape your world. There is a principle that often goes unnoticed, yet it is at work in your life every single day, the power of your words. What you speak consistently begins to form the atmosphere you live in. Your words are not just sounds, they are declarations, blueprints, seeds that plant into the soil of your future. Many people go through difficult seasons and they speak exactly what they see, what they feel, what they fear. They say things like, nothing ever works out for me, or this is just who I am, or I guess this is my limit. What they don't realize is that they're not just describing their life, they're prescribing it. They're building a future with the vocabulary of defeat. There's a reason the most resilient, victorious people speak differently. It's not that they're delusional. It's not that they don't see the problem. It's that they've trained themselves to speak faith when fear tries to rise. They speak strength when they feel weak. They speak progress when the evidence says they're stuck. And over time, those words begin to shift their mindset, their emotions, their actions, and eventually their outcomes. The human mind responds to language. It listens to what you tell it, and it begins to agree. When you tell yourself you can't, you start noticing all the reasons you shouldn't. But when you say, I've got what it takes, your brain starts searching for proof that it's true. That's how powerful your words are. They unlock resources in you that defeat would rather stay hidden. Even in Scripture, it says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. That's not metaphor, it's truth. Your life is moving in the direction of your most dominant declarations. If you keep saying you're tired, overwhelmed, or stuck, guess what you keep feeling? But if you wake up and speak life, speak direction, speak hope, even in the midst of a storm, something starts to break. The atmosphere begins to shift. Your emotions rise to match your words instead of your circumstances. There is something supernatural that happens when you speak victory out loud. It doesn't always change a situation instantly, but it changes you instantly. And when you change, the way you handle the situation changes too. You don't have to wait to feel confident to speak confidence. You don't have to wait until everything lines up to speak breakthrough. You don't need the evidence before you speak expectation. Faith doesn't talk about how it looks, faith talks about how it's going to be. When David faced Goliath, he didn't just walk out there hoping for a miracle. He spoke what would happen before it happened. He said, this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands. That wasn't arrogance, that was boldness built on belief. That was a mindset rooted in victory. And if you want to overcome the giants in your life, fear, doubt, insecurity, you've got to start talking like a giant slayer. You've got to train your tongue to agree with your destiny, not your difficulty. Too often we fall into the trap of rehearsing our worries out loud. We call it venting, but sometimes venting becomes a habit that slowly conditions us to expect defeat. There's nothing wrong with honesty, but honesty isn't the same as hopelessness. You can be real about the pain and still speak about the promise. You can be real about the challenge and still declare your commitment to push through. Because the moment you say, I'm still here, I'm still standing, I still believe something good is coming, you start building momentum. You start lifting your own spirit. You start releasing faith into the atmosphere. That's how breakthrough often begins, not with a solution, but with a declaration. Even science backs this up, your nervous system response to verbal affirmations. Speaking positive, life-giving words out loud actually reduces anxiety and increases resilience. So when you're walking through a hard day and everything inside you wants to complain, that's the exact moment to declare something different. Say, I'm not giving up. This season will not define me. I am stronger than this challenge. Those aren't just words, they're bricks in the foundation of the life you're building. If you speak them often enough with conviction, your mindset begins to shift from reaction to creation. You stop being a victim of your environment and start being the architect of your future. You move from survival mode into a place where you expect things to turn for your good. And that expectation starts guiding your behavior, your energy, your relationships, your perseverance. And all of it began with words. Words that didn't describe defeat, they declared victory. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a mindset that multiplies blessings. Most people think gratitude is something that comes after good things happen, a kind of response to life going well. But the truth is, gratitude is not reactive, it's proactive. It's not just about saying thank you when something goes right. It's about choosing to see what's right even when everything feels wrong. It's a lens you put on, a way of thinking that reshapes how you experience the world. You can take two people in the exact same situation, one filled with complaints and the other filled with gratitude, and their lives will look completely different, not because of the circumstances, but because of the way they choose to process them. Gratitude changes how you think, how you speak, how you walk into a room, how you approach your goals. When you live with a mindset of gratitude, you stop waiting for perfect moments and start seeing the value in imperfect ones. You start noticing the small things, the daily miracles, the unnoticed blessings that most people walk right past. You become more grounded, more focused, more joyful, not because life got easier, but because your perspective got sharper. Gratitude doesn't eliminate problems, but it gives you the strength to face them. It doesn't erase pain, but it gives that pain a place inside a bigger story, a more meaningful purpose. So many people are waiting for something external to change before they can be happy. They think, once I get the promotion, then I'll be thankful. Once the relationship gets better, then I'll feel peace. Once I'm out of debt, then I'll feel joy. But that's backwards. Gratitude doesn't follow breakthrough. Breakthrough often follows gratitude. When you start thanking God, thanking life, thanking others for what you already have, you activate a different kind of energy inside of you. You begin to operate from abundance, not lack. You begin to see opportunities, not just obstacles. You begin to shift the atmosphere around you because people can feel when someone is genuinely grateful. It changes the tone of your voice, the way you carry yourself, the way you connect with others. Gratitude multiplies. Whatever you're thankful for, you begin to see more of. That's why negative people often attract more negativity. They're always focused on what's missing, what's broken, what's frustrating. Their mindset is tuned to scarcity. But when your mindset is tuned to gratitude, you begin to find blessings in unexpected places. You begin to attract more favor, more peace, more connection, more joy. It's not magic. It's the result of focusing on what feeds your soul instead of what drains it. When you wake up and say, thank you for this breath, thank you for this day, thank you for another chance, you start the day already winning. You shift your entire energy before anything even happens. There's something powerful about being able to say thank you before you get the answer, before you see the result. That kind of gratitude isn't based on circumstance, it's based on faith. It's a declaration that says, I trust that good things are coming. I believe that what I have now is enough for today. And when you live that way, you build resilience. You become unshakable. Life can still hit you, but it can't knock you off course because your joy isn't tied to everything being perfect. It's tied to your decision to be grateful, no matter what. Even in hard seasons, gratitude creates space for growth. When you can say, this season is stretching me, but I'm grateful for what it's teaching me, you flip the narrative. You take back the pen and begin to write a different story, one where you're not just enduring, you're evolving. Gratitude doesn't deny pain, it transforms it. It says, I may not have chosen this situation, but I can choose how I respond to it. I can choose to focus on what I'm learning, on how I'm being refined, on the people who have stood by me, on the strength I didn't know I had. That's the kind of gratitude that changes lives, that opens doors, that invites more grace into your journey. It's easy to be grateful when things are going well, but the real test of a gratitude mindset is how you respond when they're not. Can you still say thank you when plans fall apart, when people let you down, when progress slows to a crawl? Can you still see the good in the middle of the hard? That's the kind of inner strength that only comes from choosing gratitude every single day. And the more you choose it, the more natural it becomes. Gratitude is a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. Over time, it becomes your default setting. You begin to see life through a lens of appreciation instead of frustration. You stop waiting for the big win and start celebrating the small wins. You stop focusing on what's not working and start finding what is working. And from that place, everything begins to shift. You can't live a positive life with a negative mind guard your thoughts like treasure. Everything you experience in life flows through the filter of your mind. Every opportunity, every challenge, every relationship, every goal you pursue begins with a thought. If the mind is clouded with negativity, fear, doubt, or bitterness, it will distort how you see everything else. The world might be full of possibilities, but if your mind is full of pessimism, you'll miss every open door. That's why the first battle is never out there, it's always in here. It's not about who said what, or what went wrong, or who didn't support you. It's about what you allow to take root in your thinking. Your thoughts are either planting seeds for peace or seeds for chaos, for confidence or for insecurity, for faith or fear. The mind is like a garden. If you don't intentionally plant what's good, what's strong, what's hopeful, the weeds will take over by default. You don't even have to try. Negative thoughts will come. That's part of life. But just because they show up doesn't mean you have to let them stay. The mistake many people make is they think a thought is harmless, that it's just passing through, that it doesn't really matter. But thoughts are builders. They start small, but given enough time and attention, they become beliefs, and beliefs shape behavior. That's how people who once believed in their dreams slowly become people who settle for less because they let one negative thought grow unchecked. They let discouragement become identity. They let disappointment become a label. They let worry become a worldview. Guarding your thoughts means becoming aware of what you're letting into your mental space. What are you watching, listening to, surrounding yourself with? Who are you giving your energy to? What conversations are you replaying in your head? Are they uplifting you or draining you? Are they pushing you forward or pulling you back? Most people are more careful with their phones than with their minds. They'll protect their passwords, update their firewalls, avoid malware. But when it comes to their thoughts, they let anything in. They let other people's drama, social media comparisons, anxious predictions, and toxic criticism live rent-free in their heads. And they wonder why they can't find peace or motivation or clarity. A negative mind will never produce a fulfilling life. It will always sabotage potential before it has a chance to grow. It will always talk you out of risk, out of joy, out of confidence. That's why changing your life starts with changing your mental environment. It doesn't mean pretending everything is great all the time. It means being intentional about the story you're telling yourself. It means recognizing that your inner dialogue is either your greatest coach or your loudest critic. If the voice in your head talked to your best friend the way it talks to you, would you allow it? Or would you correct it, challenge it, speak back to it? That's the kind of boldness you need to have with your thoughts. You can't be passive with negativity. You have to confront it, reject it, replace it. Your thoughts are the architects of your future. If you constantly think you're behind, not good enough, unlucky, forgotten, stuck, that becomes the blueprint for how you live. But when you train your mind to expect favor, to see value in small progress, to believe in possibilities, to trust in timing, then you begin to notice things you never saw before. You start acting in alignment with your higher self. You start showing up with energy, with courage, with clarity. You start creating momentum, and that momentum builds into confidence, and that confidence becomes the foundation for transformation. Renewing your mind is not a one-time event, it's a daily decision. Every morning you wake up, You have a choice. Will you let your thoughts wander into fear, comparison, and regret? Or will you steer them toward truth, purpose, and peace? Even 5 minutes of intentional thought work in the morning can change the trajectory of your whole day. Even one declaration of faith can silence a dozen doubts. That's the power you carry. It doesn't take perfect thinking, it just takes consistent effort. When you catch yourself going down a spiral of negative thinking, you can interrupt it. You can say, that's not serving me, that's not who I am anymore. I choose better thoughts. And over time, those choices rewire your brain, reset your emotional baseline, and release you from patterns that once kept you stuck. People often want to change their life circumstances without changing their mental habits. But nothing sticks unless the mind is in agreement. Your external life always reflects your internal patterns. So if you want to experience more joy, start cultivating joyful thoughts. If you want to see more abundance, start thinking in abundance, not in scarcity. If you want stronger relationships, start believing you're worthy of love, connection, and respect. It all starts with the mind. It starts with guarding your mental environment like it's sacred, because it is. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life, and you hold the key to that gate every single day. God can't bless who you're pretending to be. Your breakthrough begins with authenticity. We live in a world that constantly encourages performance over presence, appearance over alignment, image over identity. From a young age, many people learn to wear masks to become what others expect, to fit in instead of stand out. Somewhere along the way, authenticity gets traded for acceptance, and truth becomes filtered through fear. But the problem is, you can only pretend for so long before the disconnect starts to eat at your soul. You can smile on the outside, succeed by the world's standards, even be admired for who you appear to be, yet still feel empty, exhausted, and uncertain on the inside. Because deep down, you know you're not living from your true self. You're managing a version of you that's easier for others to approve. There's no power in pretending. There's no growth in perfectionism. The blessing, the breakthrough, the transformation you're praying for can't reach the false version of you. It can only meet you where you really are. That's why God calls people as they are, not as they perform. When he called Moses, Moses was full of doubt. When he chose David, David was the overlooked one in the field. When Jesus walked with Peter, Peter was impulsive, messy, and raw. Yet God still chose them, not for their polish, but for their potential. He doesn't require you to be perfect, he requires you to be real. Because the real you is the one he designed. The real you is the one wired for purpose. And when you stop hiding, healing begins. When you stop performing, peace enters. When you stop pretending, you create space for God to truly move in your life. Authenticity isn't about being unfiltered, it's about being aligned. It means your thoughts, your words, and your actions match. It means you don't have to keep switching personalities to suit every room you walk into. You don't have to keep suppressing your voice to maintain false peace. You don't have to carry the weight of constant image management. Living authentically frees your spirit to rest, to grow, to connect, to lead. It allows the right people to find you, not the mask you wear. And it releases you from the exhausting cycle of trying to earn worth through effort, because you begin to understand that your worth was never up for negotiation. It was established before you ever took your first breath. People often think that hiding their struggles makes them stronger, but the truth is, what you hide has power over you. Shame thrives in silence. Fear grows in isolation. But when you bring your full self into the light, flaws, questions, wounds, and all, that's when healing can begin. That's when you discover that your vulnerability is not weakness, it's strength. It's what builds trust, what creates connection, what allows you to receive what you actually need. You were never meant to be everything to everyone. You were never called to be impressive, you were called to be impactful. And impact doesn't come from pretending, it comes from living out your truth without apology. So many people are stuck because they're asking God to bless a version of themselves they created to survive, not to thrive. They're asking for peace, but still carrying the pressure to perform. They're asking for purpose, but still living under the expectations of others. But God won't anoint the mask. He anoints the mission that comes from the real you. The you that cries when no one sees. The you that doubts even when you're leading. The you that's still healing from things you haven't told anyone. That's the version He wants to work with. That's the version He can elevate, transform, and use to impact others. Because when you're authentic, you become a vessel, not just a personality. You stop trying to be impressive and start being available. There is a boldness that rises when you accept yourself fully. A calm confidence that comes from knowing you don't have to compete, don't have to compare, don't have to conform. You simply have to show up as you are and trust that that is enough. That your story, your voice, your presence carries something powerful that doesn't require approval to be valid. When you own your journey, both the mess and the miracle, you invite others to do the same. You create a ripple effect of realness in a world addicted to filters. And in that space, grace multiplies, healing flows, and alignment happens. You begin to step into rooms not wondering if you're enough, but knowing that if God sent you, you belong. You begin to attract relationships, opportunities, and breakthroughs that are meant for the real you, not the role you've been playing. And little by little, you begin to live lighter, walk freer, and move with clarity, because your spirit is no longer divided between who you are and who you think you're supposed to be.